Alright guys, Jameson Alex here, coming to you with the next video in the Van Richten Guide to Ravenloft series.
Yes.
Today we're going to be talking about curses.
Ah.
Yes, so it has some really interesting rules on here for laying curses and things like that, but we'll get into that in just a second. We are doing a giveaway, actually 2 giveaways. First one,
yes.
We're giving away a D&D Beyond a copy of Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft.
Yes.
To be entered in that, you just got to comment, like, on our videos related to our Van Richten series.
Yes.
And also subscribe to the channel, and you'll be entered for all of those videos that you do that on. And then also we have a player's bundle that we're going to be giving away on D&D Beyond as well. It's got 4 different books in it. We'll put it up on screen. It's a really good character creation bundle.
Yes.
And that'll be when we hit 10,000 subscribers, getting really close to that, guys.
Yes.
And it's going to be the same thing. You just got to subscribe to the channel, like and comment on our videos, and you'll be entered in that as well. So 2 for 1 giveaways. We hit both of those soon, announcing those. So stay tuned to the channel for the winners.
Bingo.
But for today, let's jump straight into the curses. As I was saying, there are 3 major components that the Ravenloft book lays out when dealing with curses.
Yes.
And one thing that I really enjoy about this section of the book is a lot of stuff in the DMG and Player's Handbook and stuff like that, in the classic rules of 5th edition. It's very easy to deal with curses because you have spells like Remove Curse.
Yeah.
Dispel Magic. I mean, depending on what the circumstances,
Yeah.
there's many different ways to deal with it. But in this book, it gives you some ways to up the ante a little bit.
Yep.
3 components. First is the Pronouncement. This is basically receiving of the curse. Basically,
Yes.
like someone, like it gives an example, widely spread story explaining the particular action tempts terrible punishment, or someone dying and on the cusp of death they curse their killer, kind of thing like that. And then we get into these sections of burden, which is the actual curse itself.
What actual effect it causes. Yes. And they can range everything from very, very bad for your mechanical combat, like disadvantage on attack rolls or ability checks, saving throws, or a combination thereof, depending on how bad this curse wants to be. And that's something I think we want to stress, is that this isn't designed to be just automatically a set level. You can be different levels of things.
Right.
Gaining levels of exhaustion, taking extra damage at the start of their turn, specifically necrotic, because, curses don't exactly think you don't tie that to radiant damage. It's going to be evil. Also, it mentions a choice of getting them a dark gift appropriate to the circumstances. Maybe it's a family curse. So there's kind of an heirloom that's been passed down that does grant some kind of a positive thing, but there's also a curse attached to it on the backside as well, which is kind of a fun thing with the whole dark gift thing, is the whole give and take bit. Yes. Vulnerable to damage type, among some other options through. And something else that they mention in here that I think is important to stress is that it's not, these aren't designed to be just thrown around kind of willy-nilly.
Right.
Because if you was like, they're just the random, goblin you fight and kill throws, curses you as you kill him, it does lose its weight. It loses its impact.
Right.
But if it's like, a major player in the story, it would make sense. Or you've done something really, really bad to an innocent person, or somebody you thought was guilty but ended up not being the source of the problem.
Right.
There's a punishment for doing something maybe you shouldn't have done in the first place.
Yeah, and even that, one of the examples it gives later, which we'll get into in just a second, but it talks about like breaking an oath. So maybe you're like a paladin who had an oath to not kill innocents, and you did, and there was a magical consequence tied to you breaking your oath, kind of thing. Like that's another way to pull stuff in. And also, talking about the burdens, it talks about how it onsets immediately, but they might not know of the effect immediately, because if it's something to do with, dexterity checks or attack rolls, but they're not making attack rolls or dexterity checks right now, they wouldn't necessarily know, but maybe they have like goosebumps or like a chill down their spine or something like that, as well, to kind of give them like something's not right, but you don't really know what it is.
Stiffness in that wrist.
Yeah.
And the weapon doesn't feel right in the hand like it did before.
And then lastly, we have the resolution of the curse. So you have the onset of the curse, the actual curse itself, and then taking care of it. So it talks about, again, like I was saying, general curses usually are, lifted by a Remove Curse spell, but then it talks about more specific or dramatic curses that can't be permanently lifted through spells. But they might give like temporary relief. Yeah. So something like a Remove Curse spell might suppress the burden for an hour, or a Greater Restoration might suppress the burden until the victim finishes a long rest. But then it talks about how death usually ends a curse, but the curse returns in full force if the curse creature returns to life without resolving the curse. So you can die. Yeah. And of course, when you're dead, it doesn't matter because you're dead. Right. But then you come back to life, it's still there.
Yes.
But maybe
lingers.
depending on the curse that you had, maybe that is the way to get rid of it. So you can do some creative stuff on there as well.
Yes. Until your dying day. Okay.
Yes. Persistent curses as well. It talks about when the curse is resolved, it affects usually and immediately. Some more insidious curses might linger beyond the resolution, but can remove by remove curse, spell, or similar magic if the victim succeeds on a DC 15 charisma saving throw when the spell is cast. If the save fails, it can be repeated after a specific interval, usually 1 month, with the curse ending on a successful save. Adjusting the DC, you can raise or lower that depending on how strong or weak you want the curse to be. Maybe lower it to 10 for a weak curse or 20 for a stronger curse.
Yep.
So it kind of goes along with that fact that someone can't just sit there and remove curse and just cast it like 10 times to get rid of it. It's like you cast it and they fail it, you got to wait a period of time, so they just have to actually suffer the effect. And it can really make for some interesting story concepts where maybe you have a whole story arc where you're just trying to help one of your characters in your party get over whatever their curse is. You have to go find a way to take care of it. And it can really make some interesting room to play as a DM to kind of move characters along, because you might have this really cool concept. Now, of course, as a DM, you have to be careful to not push your stuff on the players if they don't like it or whatever, So there's always that boundary. But if you're feeling it where it could make an interesting storyline, then maybe it makes sense. And then it talks about some examples of resolutions, like protecting a loved one dear to the person who laid the curse from a dire threat. So maybe the person who cursed you, you end up saving their life later and they remove it for you, kind of thing. So there's different ways.
Brought back their missing child.
Right.
Yeah.
So it gives it, and then of course it gives some examples as well, like I mentioned before. And of these 4 examples that are actually in the book, we're going to go a little bit more in depth on one of them, because I know a lot of people are interested in the Lycanthropy curse as well. So we'll go a little bit more into that than the other ones, because it gives a little bit more information on that, because that's something a lot of people are interested in. So first example that they give is the Ancient Seal, which the pronouncement, or the way to onset the curse, is basically, it gives an example of basically runes carved into a door, or words carved into a door, like relentless death follows those who disturb the sovereign's rest. So it's like a warning, literally. Don't go in here.
Don't do that.
So then if you do, guess what? You get your burden.
Yes.
It says, the example for this one, each character that gains the curse is haunted by a wraith that appears at sunset and vanishes at dawn. So all night. Good luck trying to sleep with a wraith attacking you during your long rest.
Yeah, right.
So
that's a bad time.
With a single-minded goal of slaying the cursed individual. So it manifests in unoccupied space within 30 feet of the victim. Destroying the wraith grants a temporary reprieve. It doesn't reform for 10 days.
Ooh, you get a whole week and a half free.
For lower or high-level characters by choosing another kind of creature. So it's just giving, again, an example. So maybe you don't do a wraith, maybe you do. If you want to be really mean, maybe in their high-level characters, you have like a demi-lich or something.
No!
That makes it very difficult. Because then it's like, okay, we're going to almost die every time we kill this.
So we got to fix this curve thing. That would be a way to kind of force your party to like deal with this immediately.
Exactly.
But I go the other extreme, and I think of like if it was just something really funny, if you're trying to have like a lighthearted campaign or like a little like maybe a lighthearted bit to break it up, and you get cursed being chased down by like a 2-headed rat. It's just something small. He just nibbles at you, he bites you in your sleeve, like, ow, go away.
Yeah, he just doesn't let you get a long rest. He just bites you and runs away. And
he doesn't.
Every time you're about to fall asleep, it just stops you. So you just have that exhaustion.
Pretty much.
And then it talks about resolution for this. Maybe you put back what you disturbed the tomb. Maybe you go back and you set it back to how it was beforehand.
Yes.
Or returning a body, or returning stolen treasure, that kind of thing.
Next up is the broken vow. You go to the oath. Kind of like how the paladins were. Whenever the vow the character made, came with an implied warning that guilt and restlessness would beset anyone who broke the oath. And yes, it does say the oath there. The character plunges into a restless sleep and recurring nightmares featuring those the character swore to protect. Character gains 3 levels of exhaustion.
Yikes.
That can't be removed until the curse ends. And, if you've ever had exhaustion before, it's starts off disadvantage on ability check, so only affect an RP. Okay. 2, speed is halved.
Yep.
Okay, which more problematic for melee characters versus ranged characters, but still not fun. But you go straight to 3, which is disadvantage on attack rolls and saving throws.
Yeah, that's brutal.
Oh boy, you're going to be in a bad way for a long time until you get that taken care of. Because disadvantage on attack rolls is one thing. You're not dishing out damage, but if you're a saving throw based caster,
right,
that part doesn't hurt you as much. But disadvantage on your saving throws,
yeah, it can be.
Stuff's coming at you with knocking you prone and spell effects and stuff. Yeah, bad time. So the way to fix it: curse lasts till the character upholds the broken oath. Mercy. That might require the character to wait until the circumstances arise again, or more questionably, to engineer the circumstances. So a lot of the paladins have their tenets of certain things. So maybe there was one specific thing you absolutely went like dead opposite on.
Yeah.
So you have to go out of your way to like make any time that opportunity could come up for that tenet to be up again. It's like, nope, we're doing this. Your whole party's like, it's okay. No, we're doing it.
We have to fix this.
We have to fix it. Fix it now. Yeah.
And then we have the final breath,
which is the first one, I think.
Yeah, a deity's favorite servant lies dying and calls down divine wrath. The dying creature declares to the killer, "May your mind grow dim in battle until the sun sets forever." And the burden unset by this would be the character has disadvantage on attack rolls brought on by grief, sporadic bouts of confusion. So, again, the attack rolls thing. Obviously, casters aren't going to be as affected by this. And then the resolution for it: to lift the curse, character must cause a symbolic setting of the sun or an empowering of the night to appease the slain creature's deity. Character might prevent a festival dedicated to a sun god or perform a ritual that shrouds an entire settlement in magical night for 24 hours, thus ending the curse. So that's one of the ones that's more of a creative resolution. You can't just do something straight up.
I mean, you're not able to make the sun set physically forever. I mean, you're not capable of doing that.
Right.
So...
Right, so yes.
Got to manufacture it yourself.
Yeah, it gives you a little bit more creativity.
Yeah. And finally, we have the lycanthropy-based one with innocent blood. The tragic situation came to pass where a character killed an undeserving person who laid a vengeful curse in punishment. The dying victim spits final words: "You shall spill innocent blood until laid low by the moon's bite." The character is cursed with Loup Garou lycanthropy. And Loup Garou... So it turns you into, like, if you see the picture on this thing, which is, like, that's not just like a werewolf. It looks like a werebear wolf thing.
Yes.
It's, like, big, bulky. Looks like it could kind of be up on all fours or upright. Big CR13 sucker. This isn't just a regular, like, werewolf, werebear, were-tiger. This thing is hangry.
Yeah, I see the Loup Garou as basically, like, the Dracula. He's like the origin of the curse. Like, it's kind of like it comes from his line kind of thing like that. That's how I imagine it to come through. With this specific type of lycanthropy, the Loup Garou lycanthropy, it's like a more aggressive form of werewolf, basically. And aside from being deadlier than a werewolf, the Loup Garou, they have this desire to spread lycanthropy. So they're going out and purposely trying to
They're not just feeding to sate their own bloodlust. Like, they have a major, big picture goal.
Yeah, and it talks about the only way to get rid of it would be through the death of a Loup Garou to affect those afflicted by it. So it's kind of, if you think about some versions of like vampires, they talk about if you like kill
the original
vampire, then like all the ones that were in their line would also be affected by that.
Yeah.
So it talks about with this one specifically, once the Loup Garou is slain, a remove curse spell cast during the night of a full moon on an affected werewolf. It creates the target to make a DC 17 Constitution saving throw. On success, the curse is broken and the target returns to its normal form and gains 3 levels of exhaustion. On a failure, the curse remains and the target automatically fails any saving throw made to break the curse for 1 month, which makes sense. Full moons, once a month.
Yeah.
Sure. So basically, it's just adding this extra effect, but it does say that with this, the character becomes a werewolf. Like, it actually gives the stat block for the werewolf.
Yep.
And it says the form of lycanthropy can't be removed while the Loup Garou that inflicted it lives. So you have to kill the specific one. So that adds a whole other dynamic to it as well. And then lastly, it actually talks about another way inside this actual specific example, another way to remove the curse through resolution. It says it can't be broken until the character is reduced to 0 hit points by a silvered weapon.
Silver werewolves.
If the character survives, the curse can be broken as described before. So it's another, again, the Constitution saving throw.
Yep.
Otherwise, treat the character as a werewolf whose Loup Garou progenitor has been killed. So it's basically it gives you another way to do it besides trying to go out and kill the thing. Maybe your party is too weak to do something like that, so it gives them another option. Try to figure out how to remove this.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the curse rules for Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft.
Yeah, and of course, keep in mind all the 4 samples we went through are there by what it says. They're samples.
Right.
If you've got your own creative idea for a different curse effect, or maybe combining smaller versions to kind of make your own, by all means, it's there's plenty of area to work with. Just kind of gives you a basis on how they should work. The framework there is the most important thing that's there. How the curse happens, the kind of effects that should happen, and how you fix it. That's kind of just the basic framework.
Right.
Do you with the rest of it?
Definitely have those. Definitely have the resolution in mind.
Yeah, you got to have that to start with.
Again, too, I think as a DM, it can be important to maybe have flexibility.
Yeah.
Because if you have a specific, like, they have to do this exact thing to do this, when it comes to puzzles and things,
Yeah.
if you have one specific way to solve it, and your players are
They're just
it
not-
might seem easy to you to figure it out,
Yeah,
but
but you're also the
sometimes-
one that wrote it.
Exactly. So it can be one of those things where
We've both been on both sides of that scenario
Right.
between his campaigns and my handful of one shots that I've done. You're thinking like, guys, it's right there because you're looking at your notes. You know exactly how to solve it. It's right there, and they've tried everything but the one way to fix it.
Right.
So try to
either give them some help if they can't figure it
Yeah,
out.
give them a
or
back
let
door.
them come up with- if they come up with a creative resolution, then maybe you just let it work out. Just because
that's the fun factor, rule of fun kind of thing comes into play.
It's important too as a DM when you're doing things like curses.
Yeah.
That this could drastically impact a character,
Mm-hmm.
and if their character is afflicted by this, and it's like ruining their character.
Yeah.
You don't want to like make it terrible for them for multiple sessions.
Yeah.
Like maybe you kind of just either, give some leeway.
Unless they're, unless the whole party is choosing just to put up with it, But if that one, if they're, you
sure
can,
everyone's having
you
a
kind
good
of read that with your player and figure out like if they're miserable about it. Because if you're 4 or 5 sessions deep till you have a disadvantage on your attack rolls and saving throws, I guess that's what I'm going off. 3 levels exhaustion, like
That'd be brutal.
Yeah, no,
Pretty worthless.
You would be in the no fun league by yourself.
Yeah. So yeah, just make sure there's a fine line when dealing with this kind of stuff. So just toe it carefully.
Yep.
And just again, be flexible is my suggestion on there. But that's gonna wrap everything up for today, guys. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell notification. Some of our new videos are coming out. Always love to read your comments down below. And as always, thanks for watching.